Anyway, there's a lot of information to take in there, and some of it's quite alarming. And I'm going to just throw it open. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions and input here, and I'm going to start with Sam Coleman.
Thank you so much. That was majestic. It really was. It covered so many bases. But
Good.
I've got to admit that when it comes to solutions, some of these personalized solutions, they make my teeth itch. I don't think they'll work unless they're carried out on a highly coordinated, large-scale basis. Now, if I
Hmm.
take a step back, we've got our work cut out for us regarding the media because of the extent of the corruption. This will just take me a minute to relate to you. I sent a letter of protest to my local National Public Radio affiliate in August of last year after I heard Mary Louise Kelly on National NPR do a segment with Eric Schmidt and Mark Milley, former chairman of
Hmm.
the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
Hmm.
in which they warned us from the war in Ukraine that all of our weapons were obsolete.
Hmm.
It was a nice little dialogue love fest, and Mary
Hmm.
Louise didn't challenge anything they said. The month before, pardon me, Eric and Wendy Schmidt had given NPR $5.5 million.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I
They never
know.
mentioned it. Now, my brothers and sisters in Vets for Peace are going to be tired of my saying this, but I'll say it. Norman Solomon said it. Whatever your first concern is, your second should be the media. Kuhan, what particular actions have you seen or taken part in that were particularly successful in terms of reaching the media and getting out an effective message? And do you have suggestions to us for doing better? But don't get me wrong, I think everything you've said is just terrific. It's
No,
powerful.
no, no.
It's
We
good.
have to really like poke and prod at this problem we have because we're all just beginning. I mean, it's all now starting to take form. The villains are making themselves known, and the good, or it's taking time. People really don't even know what the animal is. What I sought to do in this half hour or so was to like give shape to what this elephant looks like. Here's the trunk, here's the tail, here are the hooves. It's unwieldy. And here's the thing: the reason why I talk about getting offline is because you know how when you play a sports game and when you play an away game, you're at a disadvantage, but when you play home, you're at an advantage, right? The embodied existence when we live in our own bodies without any kind of mediation, without technological mediation, they have been the Silicon Valley has been rendered powerless. And when we are on their platforms, even if we're getting the information out, the net result is that we're empowering them because they're extracting our data. So we don't see that. So, a lot of warfare is decoy, right? And simulacra. And so that's what's going on. So I think like of all the media, the ones that like it's all online, right? It's all online. So I have a dream of there being something like The Nation, a weekly newspaper that is far more radical, that really actually has kind of a cachet for being offline, where that helps organize people, and people are starting to do that. I just had a long phone call this morning with a former employee of Palantir who, in the link that I dropped, it says Palantir whistleblower. It features him, and he's doing a lot in Denver. He's building a library to educate people about AI. I mean, the young people, he's 30, and I'm talking to 21-year-olds at New School in New York and Columbia, and they do actions and events that are all offline. So I think that that's where, I mean, what do they say? The revolution won't be televised. I think just as equally, the revolution won't be reported online at all because that is Silicon Valley and that is the enemy. Now, in terms of using it to help get the word out, you just, I like certain independent podcasts, and I trust them, like Ryan Grimm and Breaking Points, Crystal Ball, Brianna Joy Gray. And I think they're good if you have, I think if they're covering you, I feel you've been successful. I would never, I agree with Norman Solomon. I would not waste my time with the people who are funded by the war machine, like NPR. And I might also add what's been particularly frustrating in this is Wendy and Eric Schmidt give millions and millions of dollars to such causes as Indigenous AI, LGBTQ AI, BIPOC, people of color AI. And what this is doing is it's factioning any of the movements that might find solidarity to oppose the colonial systems, which is what these digital technologies really are, an extension of capitalism, of militarism, of colonialism. It originated as a missile defense. So wherever we can put our body there and have actions like the flotilla in Gaza, like okay, in 2 years, we're planning with the college students in New York, I'm planning something that we're calling the Summer of Lud, as in Luddite. And that's going to be in Washington Square Park. And we'll have a lineup of speakers and music and bands. And because the young people, especially the early 20s, I said, why are you so activated? Why do you know so much about this? Like, why are you so sophisticated? And he said, like, they're the first generation that came into it their consciousness became aware of technology at a time when suddenly all of the harms were being revealed and emerging, whereas generations before, it was just like, these bright shining promises of a new tomorrow. So, and then this guy, his name's Bucky, he goes to Columbia, and he just last couple weeks ago, he had a rally called the Shit Phone Rally, where people got up on soapboxes at Tompkins Square, and hundreds of people showed up, and they talked about how digital technology was taking us away from our humanity, away from our community, away from ourselves, away from nature. And it ended with a Luddite tribunal where they put digital devices on trial, and of course they were all found guilty, and they brought a bucket of stones and they put them in the center of Tompkins Square Park, and everybody picked up a stone, made a circle around the digital devices, and stoned them.
Well, Koohan, Jay Coughlin wants to share a comment and a question with you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Koohan. That was superb.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, I'm concerned about data centers or future data centers at Department of Energy sites. And of course, I'm most concerned with Los Alamos. I don't really have anything to add. I'm simply seeking information. Koohan, you did mention briefly that there's currently a site-wide environmental impact statement going on for continued operations at Los Alamos, but as clarification, there was a draft issued in January and a comment period on it ended about a month ago, but there's nothing in the draft. Zero about data centers. And
But
so,
it does list it as one of the alternatives, doesn't it?
I don't think so. I don't believe so.
Well, in your comment, I guess that it was Sophia that wrote up the comment because she does mention it.
Mhm. The term may be mentioned, but it's very abstract. There's no details on it, and
Absolutely.
it does not qualify whatsoever as environmental review. That's kind of what I'm getting at. And there's a lot of reasons why my organization, Nuke Watch, argued that that draft should be withdrawn and a new one issued. And there were a dozen reasons, and data centers was simply one of them. But anyway, I'm using this time. So little is known about this. There, not even a skeleton of information has been offered on it. So I'm soliciting information if anybody runs across it. You very well articulated the environmental concerns, which in some respects can be doubled when it comes to Los Alamos, especially water use. And there's a big fight now about an additional transmission line up to the lab. So water and energy is going to be big issues on this. So again, I'm soliciting information, but I wanted, and I'm not able to offer anything as I talk here because of the lack of information. But I also wanted to make clear beyond Los Alamos and beyond Department of Energy sites, two other arenas that I want to express alarm about. And of course, these DOE sites, they are corporate run, but government owned. And I have severe misgivings about the corporate interests that are going to be involved in this, and perhaps even having the US Treasury open to them while they run data centers at national laboratories. And then an issue even above that is AI command and control of nuclear weapons. And I can give you a couple of examples where kind of intuitive human judgment prevented global Armageddon.
Yes.
And so I have severe misgivings in the event that AI supplants human judgment. And, the human history of warfare, I can summarize it as always a race to the bottom or always a race to the worst case. And I actually kind of think that AI command and control of nuclear weapons is going to end up being inevitable. So I have nothing hard and fast to offer. I have no solutions at this point to offer. Again, I'm seeking information. But if you have any comments on these things, I would appreciate that, Koohan.
Well, I think that more people outside of New Mexico need to be aware of what's going on. So I always urge people to be watching Nuke Watch and watching New Mexico and Mariah Gomez and just the groups in New Mexico, because I know that when I lived in Guam and we saw the B-52s going overhead during the Vietnam War, we knew what was going on before people in the United States mainland. My point is, you guys see what's going on with data centers and nukes before anyone, right? You're more aware. You see where we're going because so many billions of dollars are being poured into these investments. So I just think it's really important for you guys to get more support from outside of New Mexico. That's my biggest thought. So, because we really need to have as much solidarity nationally as possible.
Towards that end, and maybe I'm preaching to the choir here, but folks, this is an announcement. There are scoping hearings on expanded PIP production this coming Tuesday and Wednesday. They're virtual, they're evening. But all of this is tied in. And of course, I'm not going to disagree with Koohan. We in New Mexico can use more support, but please be aware of those virtual scoping hearings that are actually the result of litigation that NukeWatch and others were involved in.
Maybe you could send them to Jerry and then he could disseminate the
Okay.
information. Yep. Because I think you people in New Mexico should never underestimate the interest that others have, because nuclear is such a global issue.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Well, anybody else want to jump out there with a question or a comment?
I see something in the chat. Oh, by the way, I thought I had dropped all of these very valuable links into the chat, but I had not. So I just did it, and I urge everyone to copy and paste them. They're really, really good. But I see there's one from Satbir Kaur Khalsa. A question. Hi. Sabir Bakalsa from Tucson, Veterans for Peace Associate member. How can we mitigate the benefits that individuals with disabilities find in using internet, not AI, and other tech that helps them to integrate with others so they do not remain isolated and unable to get their point of view into protests and public forums? Also, we need to increase critical thinking skills. AI cannot replace that. Well, yeah, AI will certainly make our critical thinking skills weaker. It's sort of like going to the gym. If you don't use that muscle, it gets flabby and atrophied. In terms of handicap, disability issues, let's think back to how society functioned in the past. I know that the libraries that we had in California, they had special librarians and they had special accommodations for disabled people. And what made it not, and there was also, and I know here in Hawaii, my mom was a social worker, so disabled people could ask for special rides, that the government paid for to take them to the library or what have you. And there were accommodations for blind people, for deaf people. I taught at the junior college on Kauai. Before the internet was very much in widespread use, I taught deaf people, blind people. And when society doesn't have that, we go back to humanity. We go back to funding humans and giving people humans jobs to help other people. And I always liken this fallback to these technologies as what I call the wire mommy syndrome. If you recall, there used to be these psychological studies where they would take little baby monkeys away from their moms and they would give them like a frame of wire that was covered with an old piece of ratty carpet. And before long, the little monkey thought that was his mommy and he became, very much attached to the mommy. And whenever there was something perceived as a danger, we would run over and like clutch the wire mommy. And I feel like this technology has become a wire mommy and really lowered our standards as to how we can really live as human beings and have real human relationships.
Rachel, what do you have to share? And then Peter.
Thank you. As usual, Koohan, your speech is so precious and you provided us tremendous amount of information. And I would like to, your story reminded me of what I've experienced over the winter, interviewing people in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You know that in order to manufacture those AI-related, sophisticated machines and everything, you have to use semiconductor. And the semiconductor factories definitely need to use PFAS, right? And the PFAS manufacturer, 3M, is headquartered in Minneapolis. And the local high school over there, every classroom has cancer patients. Okay, 15, 16, 17 years old kids. They have, they graduated with incurable disease. Okay, I think it is important for us to express more environmental destruction and the health hazard is directly linked to AI technology, to enhance AI technology. So you can ask, which do you take, cancer or convenience of your life? So I think the answer is very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. I did not know that about the PFAS and the semiconductors, but I'll tell you, it's like there's a more obvious need to protest the death and destruction of genocide and war, but there's also an invisible death and destruction of the war machine, because AI is part of the war machine. So we're just like giving it's so death affirming. We're giving all of our life away. This AI, the war, this whole machine, it's draining Earth and humanity of life in order to continue expanding this devil machine. Yeah. I'm going to share that about the PFAS with others. Thank you.
Peter, you're up.
Oh, thank you. What a joy. I'm always, since the Arab Spring, I've always thought we're a little behind the curve, because it seemed clear to me that Arab Spring, credit was given to Facebook and the social media for the way it was organized and took down governments. But nobody seemed to realize that that's how the revolt was shut down.
Mm-hmm.
They had everybody's data.
I know.
And somebody pointed out that if the ships had been a little faster, they would have captured Paul Revere because they had enough data to find out who was in his organization. But the ships couldn't get over from England quick enough. And the last thing is just, well, I think there's a human quality that's a little invisible to us, that's completely opaque to AI.
Mm-hmm.
I did a crash course with Bonnie Roy, and she did a little experiment. She doesn't like AI. She did an experiment. She asked it to picture a watch showing a certain time, a clock face, an analog clock face, and it couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
It kept showing 10 minutes of 8 because, or whatever time is because that's the one that marketing always uses to sell clocks. And it couldn't read a clock face. It can't tell the truth because
No.
truth isn't a representation of anything. And finally, I'll just say, 1984, Orwell depicted a system that didn't really need to surveil everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The surveillance was really limited, so the hero, Winston, could find and participate in subversive activities that it had provided as emotional bait. And then it was quite easy to catch him red-handed without bothering to deploy expensive surveillance infrastructure. And they weren't even after
Facebook.
they weren't even after Winston. There was the merest possibility of love they wanted dead. So it's kind of like I think we're always we're not looking at the context or a large enough context. And I don't mean to detract from anything we're up to, and I think you're brilliant and your work is crucial, and I totally support it, and I keep telling people about you. And even so, we're a little late, and we need to, rather than, it's like Bayo Akomolafe says, when you're in trouble, you need to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Or if if you want to find your way, you have to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'll shut up. This is great. Thanks.
Thank
Well,
you.
Koohan, this is a very stimulating presentation, and for some of us, including myself, a lot of this information is new and kind of like what to do with it. So I imagine some of us are going to want to do further research on our own, and I assume that some of the links that you put in the chat are to valuable articles, readings, or websites where we might go for further investigation. Do you have any additional suggestions?
No, I think you had a really nice overview with those links that I put in the chat. And thank you so much for making this all happen, Jerry.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure. And so we have a few more minutes left in the meeting for other business. We try to keep our meetings to go no longer than an hour and a half. And so we have a little over 15 minutes right now if we want to use it. Now, Jim and I, who are on the coordinating committee, typically get together for a half hour before these meetings to discuss the agenda and things we might discuss. And Jim reminded me, and you might want to say more about this, Jim, that we decided a couple of meetings ago to try to have a monthly action with regard to pushing back against various aspects of the nuclear cycle. And we had an idea, and I'll turn it over to you, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Jerry. Yeah, I was thinking we could do letters to congressmen to multiple congressmen in the fashion that Save Our VA does. They do at least, about one every month where you just sign, you fill out your information. They've created a letter and it goes automatically to your congressman. And Shelley says that she could put something together for us. So I'm trying to kind of drop the ball over the last month. I was hoping to get a letter drafted to send out to the No Nukes group so that you could tear it apart and get your
Yeah.
red pens out and then make it different. And we could send that off to Shelley and try and
Yeah.
get that to the whole Veterans for Peace network and as many friends as we can share it with and generate a letter to our congressman concerning something of interest. And before the meeting, Jerry and I were talking, and I was thinking maybe letters to Congress and our senators, our House Representatives people and our senators saying, please encourage Trump to have a nuclear deal, to actually finish the nuclear deal with Iran. So I'm going to start with a draft that I'll send it out to the folks to get some
Yeah.
input.
I think that's because if there is no nuclear deal, the Netanyahu and the neocons and sometimes Trump himself are threatening to actually wage war against Iran.
Mhm.
And there's actually a leaked memo that's come out in the last couple of days that says Netanyahu may be planning to do it on his own right during the negotiations because he doesn't want there to be a successful negotiation. I was just on the website of the National Iranian American Council, NIAC. They, their latest article is from today, actually, is cautiously optimistic. That seems like the negotiations might be going all right, but on the other hand, some of the U.S. negotiators seem to be making unacceptable demands, so it remains to be seen. But there is a letter. They have their own letter that they've sent to Congress, basically encouraging Congress to support diplomacy to bring a successful end to those negotiations and averting war. And it would be fairly simple for us to put together a similar message and to share that with our entire membership. I think that would be it. But what do others think? Does that sound like a good focus for this month, given that we don't have a whole lot of time to discuss other options? Ellen says yes. Ellen Barfield.
Well, if
Others are
Ellen
shaking
says
their
yes, like
head.
we're good to go. So
Yeah, that's
one
true.
other thing quick, Jerry, I know we've got some folks that let me put it this way. I'll be sending this out, this wonderful presentation to all the new no nukes working group. But if you're not part of the normal no nukes working group email, please put your email in the chat so that I can send it to you also. And I'll also make a
Right.
copy of the chat so that
Yeah.
we'll get that out to everybody. So please
Great.
share your emails in the
Can
chat.
I just like chime in and answer one of these questions on the side that
Go
I think is
go for
notable?
it, Koohan. Go for
Terry
it.
Terry Lodge said, "Have you examined the Chinese DeepSeek AI program, which their government announced in January, and which supposedly uses only 1/8 to 1/10 as much energy?" And I just want to say that under normal circumstances, when you're working with a government that wants to do good for the people and wants to make the right decisions, that might play a role in how we move forward. But because this program to cover the continent with data centers is made expressly for the purpose of enriching the Silicon Valley oligarchs, people are just ignoring, they're not considering it. And also there is the factor of Jevons paradox, which means like when you like what is it, when a solution is found for something, you end up using more of that. Like when fat-free cookies got invented, people would eat 3 times as many cookies and then get fat anyway. Or I can't think of any good examples right now, but there is that where if you proliferate like a whole digital, like make the digital economy so much stronger than it already is, which is huge. And people are just going to use more. And even though you've got this AI that uses less energy, if more people are using more, it'll just scale up anyway. So in a way, it's self-defeating. I just wanted to address that because it's something I've thought about.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jerry stepped away. Let's see, is there anybody else in the group that wanted to share what they're doing? Maybe Rachel, do you have an update on your project?
Thank you very much for asking. I would like to share two projects that I've been working on. Actually, I do have more, but I would like to share two of them with you today. One is the project 1030. Its deadline is the end of this month. I've been collecting wood ash samples from your either fireplace, wood stove, or campfire. Please send us your sample so that I can put them all together collectively and ship it to Japan's lab, and they will measure the cesium-137, which is the very stable and easiest radioactive nuclide to measure, and they will send you the result via email. We will use the result in order to make a visual map so that we can see the how do you say, the radiation map of the United States in order to show how already our land has been polluted. We have no more necessity to build SMR and such things. Okay, we do not need any more nuclear facilities. In order to prove it, we would like to accumulate data. So that's Project 1030. And another one is now I've been organizing post-National Convention event in Las Vegas recently. Thanks to the support of local peace activists, we were able to reserve one civic center venue for 50 people capacity. I would like to organize as small as close to meeting, as big as symposium, and where people who are victims of nuclear weapons. We have a hibakusha from Japan. Also, those who are victims of U.S. military facilities. We have speakers from Okinawa and Kumamoto, Japan. And we may have a speaker from Minneapolis, Clean Water Action, which put so much effort on establishing the global most comprehensive PFAS ban regulation in the state of Minnesota. They can share their knowledge with us if they can make it. And I would like to invite DU working group to this meeting, as well as a nuclear abolition working group. If you know anybody who are attending convention, please join us. Convention ends at 1 p.m. and our event preparation starts from 2 p.m. Actually, event starts from 2:30. It'll be great if we could share our knowledge with all different types of pollution. Okay, PFAS, radiation, and Agent Orange, depleted uranium. They all destroy our DNA. Ramifications will be passed on to generations after generation, and the environment will be destructed almost irreversibly. So we also have indigenous society participants as well, so we can share all our knowledge. And this would be a great opportunity to enrich our knowledge and to form a bigger coalition to protect our environment, to protect our future generation. So also, if you are participating convention and you still have to stay one more night, join us as audience as well. So please stay tuned, and I would like to come see many of you to this event. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rachel. So, Helen.
Hey, I thought I'd give a very brief golden rule update. We've got a 10th anniversary celebration of the relaunch of the Golden Rule, June 14th in Humboldt Bay. And we're going to have a lot of wonderful people, speeches, and just there'll be t-shirts and hoodies and champagne glasses and food, and it'll be quite the gathering. Starts at 1 o'clock for socializing, and the launch will be at 4. And we're working on a whole weekend of activities. And then our voyage this year is going to be to San Francisco Bay, and we'll actually be arriving in the Bay August 5th and departing around September 1st, and look forward to working with many people from Veterans for Peace, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Code Pink, and everybody else to have a really wonderful time this year in the Bay Area.
Thanks, Helen. And anybody else? We've got about 5 minutes before we hit the walking the dog hour. So, any other business? Jerry's back. There we go.
Yeah. Nature was not calling, it was screaming.
I
So,
just dropped a link in the chat about an upcoming AI convention for military that Eric Schmidt is sponsoring. It will be in DC if there's anybody there who wants to protest. Palantir will be there, Anduril, all of the worst players.
right.
Wonderful.
Well, I just make a very quick report. Oh, I see Rachel's got her hand up. Is that from before or now?
Now,
Okay, well, I'll just make a quick report and then I'll call on you, Rachel. And that is about half dozen of us have had 2 meetings now and are making very good progress on organizing our update of the Veterans for Peace Nuclear Posture Review. So I'll give a more complete report about that next month. Maybe send out an outline of what we're up to the group in the meantime. But I won't get into that any further than that right now, except to say it's a very good group of us, and we're off to a promising start. Rachel, you still online? And then
yes, I
Ellen?
am. Thank you for giving me this additional opportunity. I would like to throw in one more thing that will take place in September. Mr. Akio Kuroi, who's been organizing a family of Japanese World War II veterans who came back with severe PTSD, have been organizing their experiencing, and also Mr. Kuroi is a really, how do you say, a strong leader of this growing mushrooming movement in Japan. He's coming to San Francisco to deliver his speech. So he said that due to his illness and age, he thinks this will be his first and last trip to the United States. So especially those who are on the West Coast, please consider inviting him this coming September so that he can hop around from San Francisco to nearby cities before he leaves for back to Japan. I would like to have you respond by the end of May because his sponsor needs to organize his flight reservation as soon as possible. So I've been, asking her to wait for my response, but I don't have anybody there's several who showed interest, but I haven't received any firm answers. So please consider inviting him. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Ellen?
Just wondering when that convention on AI in DC is. I live in Baltimore and get to DC often, so it's conceivable I could protest, and probably some DC folks are too. When is it, Koohan?
Click on the link because when I click on it,
It didn't want to tell me. Yeah, I did, and it said,
oh, really?
no, you can't do this,
Okay.
so.
It's June 2nd to
Uh,
June
Too
4th.
soon? No, I'm afraid I can't. But thanks for telling me anyway. I'll try to key up some.
Yeah.